But we're going to be starting off first with the single women in the church. We actually have a video for you all that we're going to play, and then we're going to go from there. We probably can just play it in the background too. So.
Okay, single women, talk back to me, because every woman here ain't trying to dig no holes. They're not trying to pay their own bills and take care of their life and be alone all themselves and get dressed up. They don't want to get dressed and put on Victoria's Secret and date Jesus. No, there are some folk that love God, that are single, and they're saying, Lord, will you please send me a man of God that loves you, that will do right and not smack my head in a wall? Oh, now the single women, y'all don't want to talk back to me? There is something wrong when no one wants to acknowledge that there is a gap in the church. You can't keep dancing over the issue. You can't have half the church full of single people and 25% already single with kids and nobody talk about the issue in the church. The problem is, where are the men? See, nobody want to talk about. Where are the men? Pastor Mose, I'm sick of you already. The church, I'm preaching, for those of you that don't know, I'm preaching in Isaiah because that's where our church is. We've gone through the Bible all year long. We're going one book at a time. We're in the book of Isaiah, so I can only preach to you in Isaiah because that's where we are. And in the book of Isaiah, there are 7 women trying to date one church musician. Can I talk to you? There's something wrong in our church because the altos ain't talking to the sopranos because they all messing with the same musician. And they don't understand the altos and sopranos are mad at each other, but he's in love with a tenor. Okay, I'm going to come on this side. Well, nobody wants to talk about it, but I'm trying to tell you something is wrong. I told the men in my church, I want you to stop shopping at Baby Gap. Those pants are too small. You look like a little boy. I need you to get something that tells me you want a woman. Now,
so as we see there, that is a great word from the pastor there. Did you want to go ahead and go into the second one too?
Sure, let's do it.
Okay.
We
so we want you guys to be able to hear from the man, and then we also want you guys to be able to hear from a female standpoint. So
Church has done a really poor job of celebrating and embracing the single community. And as a single woman in church myself, I'm often asked overly personal, very awkward, and very unusual questions. I remember a church leader who I really respect who really encouraged me that I needed to be on dating apps. And so I tried them out for a little while. And do you know what? A ton of my friends have met their partners through dating apps. If you've been on a dating app and it's worked out well for you, that is absolutely fantastic. I was doing it because of the pressure of the Christian community to find my contentment in a partner. And I think that both of these two edges can be true in our journey of singleness. For some, their deep longing is to be with a companion. And so every time the church touches insensitively or unhelpfully on that topic, it awakens a place of genuine pain and wound, and often does it quite shallowly, or as though the solution is, rather than finding your joy in Jesus, to find your joy in another person, and creating this image of a half-complete life until you find your partner. So for some, it's a place of real pain and real tenderness. And I think we've unfortunately not engaged with kindness in that place of tender longing. But the second edge of singleness is that many are single due to particularly challenging circumstances. My friends in church community have often lived through divorce, have had an unsuccessful relationship, have experienced rejection, and might be looking to say in their church community, I simply want to be reminded of who the love of Jesus is and what that looks like towards my own life. And so I think that it's a topic that, while I'll speak about with openness and joy and honesty, I also approach with as much thoughtfulness as possible, because I've experienced some of the most unhelpful and unkind comments within church community.
So we have two perspectives there. So Deacon Classic, where would you like to start? We have two perspectives. You have a pastor that was speaking in the church saying that the women are single because they all like the same musician, which we hear that verbiage a lot in the secular community. We hear that, you know, most women are chasing pretty much that 1%. So, you know, that could be true. And then on the other hand, we have this lady who said that she has received very bad advice from the church community and also felt pressured to get a companion because of the church community. So I'll let you go first. This is about all women. All women.
Yeah. I see what you did there. You know, I recently retired from certain conversations, but yeah. I love that the pastor, there's so much to go into, but I love that the first minister, he brought up the scripture that displayed in the book of Isaiah that this is nothing new. You know, most women liking a small percentage of men is nothing new, right? If you one of the fellas that got that sauce and you got, you know, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 sisters on you, you know what I'm saying? You got to decide what type of man you want to be, you know, because your options are abundant. As far as from the female side, again, it just goes back to understanding where you going wrong at and being mature enough and disciplined enough to make the right decision for what you need and not what your pelvis desires. Amen. So I think that's something that we historically see women have to grow into making a good decision with a man, because a lot of times today we hear about sapiosexuals, right? The women who say they're so attracted to the man's mind. And I say it's a lie. It's cap, because there's so many ugly men that are good people. So if y'all really were finding dudes attractive based on their intellect, then we wouldn't have the problems that we have. So we gotta call things, you know, call a spade a spade. Now, in regards to the second sister saying that she feels pressured, well, she should. Because if you're not a celibate woman, if you're not an abstinent woman, then you should feel pressure to take up a husband. You shouldn't be out here, you know, based on what the word says. You shouldn't be out here giving up your loins, you know, for you know, without commitment, without the commitment of marriage and without the promises made to God. So, I mean, she should feel some pressure. This concept of leave me alone and let me do what I want, that's that liberation that we talk about, and that all that liberation we are seeing now is not of God. So yeah. What you got?
I agree. I definitely agree. Told you, ladies and gentlemen, to take your notepads out today. We're gonna give you guys some notes. As you guys can see, if you paid attention to the thumbnail, I think a lot of the single women in the church are looking from a bird's eye view. And if you notice the thumbnail, it's a bride who's sitting on top of a home, witnessing another successful marriage just below. And the reason why I wanted to bring it up, because there's a great proverb, great proverb, Proverb 21:9, that said it's better to live on a corner of the roof than to share the house with a quarrelsome woman.
Yeah, come on now.
And I think that we have been so focused with women being a virtuous woman. Nothing wrong with that. But I think sometimes we have to move past the obvious chapters in the book and get to chapters that show you guys it's not just about being a virtuous woman, but do you have the characteristics of a good wife? And the reason why I say that is because I wanted to give you guys a quick breakdown of the book of Ruth. This is something, if you have heard me speak before, I stand on the book of Ruth. I feel like the book of Ruth is the best breakdown for women because it gives you a bird's eye view from a woman who went through hardship and came out on the other end. And we all know that when it comes to marriage, when it comes to a union, you're going to go through hardships. But if you don't have the characteristics of Ruth and you only focus on being a virtuous woman, I think you're going to continue to watch ceremonies from the top of the roof. So I just want to give you guys some quick things to take in your notes. It's only 4 chapters. I'm just going to give you guys what you can find in each chapter. That's it. I'm not going to give you a bunch of word salad, but chapter 1, if you're taking notes, chapter 1 talks about loyalty and loss. This is where Ruth actually lost her husband, her brother-in-law, and her father-in-law all died. So she lost, but in the midst of all that, she told Naomi, where you go, I will go. For your people shall be my people, and your God, my God. So the first thing I want you guys to take down is chapter 1 talks about loyalty and loss. That is something that we all need, even in our union and our marriages and relationships. Number 2, chapter 2 talks about humility and hard work. Let me say that again. Chapter 2 talks about humility and hard work. In Bethlehem, Ruth works in the fields to provide for herself and Naomi. She gleans over this field where we all know that a wealthy man by the name of Boaz, who has respect for her and notices her, and he starts to tell his people to leave some extra things on the field for her so that she doesn't get left behind. Because it was a woman working in the field of men. He wanted to make sure that she's able to get her fair share. So number 2 is humility and hard work. Chapter 3 goes into boldness and integrity. Naomi encourages Ruth to approach Boaz at night and request him. But if you guys follow the story, you know, she takes a different route. Boaz praises her reputation for being a virtuous. Look at that. He praises her for being a virtuous and not chasing after men or their wealth status. This isn't the word. This is not something Brother Souls is making up. You can go read this in chapter 3. And I always feel like the church focused so much on the virtuous woman and the proverb because it's popular. And we know it's real popular in certain cultures and societies. But we're sticking to the main topic today, all women. So we got to make sure chapter 3 talks about boldness and integrity. And then lastly, chapter 4 talks about favor and redemption. Boaz takes the proper steps to marry Ruth. He takes the proper steps to marry Ruth. Let me say that again. He takes the proper steps to marry Ruth because it was actually someone who's supposed to marry Ruth before Boaz because he was part of the family, but that man did not want to give up his wealth that his sons were going to take over. And that's something that I just wanted to leave you guys with, because if you take these 4 chapters, break down those words, and it will show you what men are looking for in a wife. We're looking for loyalty, even in the midst of loss. That could be losing a job. That could be losing someone in your family, things of that nature. Chapter 2, humility and hard work. So when we talk about these wives that want to sit at home and don't want to work, there's great women worked all through the Bible. They worked. And I know for Deacon Classic, he tells them all the time, oh, you're going to work in his house. So
Yeah.
you're going to work. So, and then chapter 3 talks about boldness and integrity. Who wouldn't want a woman who stands in boldness and integrity, doing the right thing even when nobody's looking, not just chasing the man because he has a bag, not just chasing a man because of his potential, but you're chasing him because of the integrity of the man and the boldness. And then finally, we wrap it up with favor and redemption. When you do the right thing, God will provide. That's why the word says, he who finds a wife finds a good thing. That means both people have to be in line with God or whoever they believe in to receive that favor and redemption. So that means even men, if you've been divorced, women, if you've been divorced, that doesn't mean that there's not another person out there for you. So that's my quick little breakdown. Didn't want to hold y'all too long, but I always just feel like we get lost we always hear about proverbs, but it's not about just being a virtuous woman. You have to understand the characteristics of a good woman.
Couldn't have said it better myself. But I will say this, that virtue matters, Brother Souls.
Oh, yeah.
So we definitely want those women to still try to stay as close to virtuous as possible. We know today's times are a bit different. You know what I mean? But you know, you want to keep the numbers down. Amen, sisters.
Yeah.
Keep the numbers down. Yeah.
Have you ever went over the definition of virtuous?
No, not yet. On my channel, no.
Oh, okay. Okay.
No.
Might be
Well, I mean, we can do it.
Yeah, it might be a good code language for just to give the women some understanding of what you mean.
Yeah.
And we appreciate all y'all in the chat too, man, especially Tristan, Soft Rain, Jen. We appreciate y'all. Make sure y'all share this while you guys are on here watching. Share that link, put it in your story, put it in your bio, put it anywhere. You got friends and family, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, or X, better known as X. Make sure you guys share this, man.
Yeah, the definition of virtuous is having or showing high moral standards, and then also chaste, right? Virgin, maidenly, etc., celibate. So yeah, I mean it has a lot to do with, like you said, you know, upholding certain standards and things like that when nobody's looking. You know what I mean? It doesn't necessarily say you have to be perfect.
Yeah.
But you know, your intentions, your mind, your heart, all of those things need to be pure. So
body count should matter.
It matters. It
you
matters.
Just educated me, Deacon Classic. I'm for real. I never looked up that definition, and it talks about that. It talks.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay,
So it matters.
It's in the word. It ain't just the thing. It's in the word. It's in the word. Body count should matter to you. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, don't be body slammed too hard in the game. Shout out to Uncle Plug, man.
Yeah.
Yep. But how do we fix it before we move on? To be solution based, how do we fix it? How do we bring marriage back into the church?
I think the best way to first bring marriage back in the church, I think we need to go back to some of the old ways, because I think a lot of people feel like we are all in these new traditions. But I remember, especially growing up in the South, I remember you couldn't even be a pastor if you weren't married. Like you had to display the example of what you're the shepherd. So your sheep should be able to glean to you for any type of guidance, or what a happy marriage looks like, what a good wife looks like. So I feel like first, I think that really should be a requirement. I know some people probably wouldn't agree, but I think, you know, you should be married if you're going to spread the gospel and what God is asking us to be. So that's one solution.
Okay. So better examples in the leadership positions.
Yeah.
I can see that. I think one people, it's unpopular, but it's useful. I think to bring back shame in the church. Yeah, bring back shame in the church. If you a devout church member and you 16, 17 years old and you turn up pregnant, you should be a little apprehensive about how you're going to be looked at on Sunday. You should by definition and nature of what Christianity is. There should be an element of understanding that judgment is going to be upon you. All of this warm welcome and open arms for people who are inside of the church habitually engaging in sin, some of that's got to stop. You got to bring back the shame and the guilt, you know, that should go along with being 1 foot in and 1 foot out, essentially. You know what I mean? So I know that's not popular in today's sensitive time, but I think it helps. I think the scarlet letter treatment went a long way, you know, back when it wasn't popular to be promiscuous and it wasn't accepted publicly.
I agree.
Yeah, because you got some sisters that got 3, 4, 5 exes in the congregation.
Oh, look at that, man. Tristan read your mind.
Yeah. Yep.
Hey,
you're on the same page. He said we need to bring shame back into church. Too many times we find pastor preach purposelessly, and give grace to indiscriminate behavior. Yep, I agree. Got to go back to pointing fingers, man.
But you know, we lost a lot of the thing. Well, I can't say we, because I don't know how and that's another thing. Everybody church is so different. Like I remember growing up when we had like Vacation Bible School, but then you also had what was that called when you would go to church for like three or four nights in a row?
Lock in.
No, but it'd be different speakers and stuff. Golly, man, people like pastors would travel in to come and I can't think of the name of it right now, but we used to have a moment where literally you would stand up and give like your testimony or tell people like what happened to you or some of the things that you did wrong. I remember getting to know a lot about church members, and it was shame, but it was also an opportunity for people to help. You know what I mean? Because you think about hiding your daughter who's 16, right? Yeah, that's cool. You're hiding it from the church and you're hiding it from your family and friends. But think about if you just go out there and get that initial shame period over with. Think about the new support system that you have built. I think a lot of people only look at the initial portion of shame. We don't look at the outcome of shame, because usually once shame is over, it's very quick. Like, I mean, you guys see it even in social media or in the real world. If you just let something die over, people forget about it within 24, 48 hours. So all you got to do is go up there, tell your truth, and then what you're going to really build is a support system, because now people know this young lady might need some support. Children might need clothes, might need somebody to watch the child while they're in school. Like, now you're building a community, because that's what church was supposed to be. An extension of your community. So I definitely agree with that. I think people hear the word shame and then they think from a negative connotation, but I think shame can actually provide you more resources than anything.
Yeah, and I think it gives you an appropriate level of like fear and paranoia, so that you can make more proactive instead of reactive decisions, right? You know what? I'm gonna, I'm sinning right now, but we're gonna make sure we wear some protection, because I don't want what comes behind us messing this up. You know what I'm saying? Like, just things like that. People were a little more careful when shame was afoot. Even when they were out of bounds. Still more cautious with it. We had a question from Soft Range, said, has the intentionality behind getting married in church evolved or lessened?
The intentionality.
Yeah, I think it's lessened in general, in church, outside of church, altogether. I just think the concept of like getting married has changed overall. And I'll just leave it right there, because I'm still freshly retired from certain conversations.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you. I feel like it has a lesson, but I also feel like it has a lesson because, again, it goes back to how many people aren't even in a church, how many people aren't even in a community. A lot of people getting married at Las Vegas, go to a little chapel, get married in private. You know what I mean? They're not doing it in front of everyone, due to the shame or whatnot you might have be. You got people just going down to your local courts, getting it done, and now they're married. So I definitely think it has lessened, for sure, because there's less people in church too. So
Yep. Well, that was a good one, man. We don't have to stay on that one too long. The single women inside the church. I think the crisis is in and outside of the doors. You know what I mean? In and outside of the doors of the sanctuary.
I need thee. Oh, I need thee.
I hope Brother Souls and Deacon Classic provided something today to make you hit the like button, leave a comment, or subscribe. We will be back next Sunday for Sunday service.
Oh,